this is a full capitulation to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, in a book that he put out, what was that, earlier, around the same time, it had a quote that he said that he would put Zuckerberg, quote, spend the rest of his life in prison.
Right, read that whole thing.
Former President Donald Trump writes in the new book set to be published next week that Mark Zuckerberg plotted against him during the 2020 election and said the Meta chief executive would, quote, spend the rest of his life in prison if he did it again.
What an amazing coincidence that just days before Donald Trump is inaugurated, right after he is made president again, that Mark Zuckerberg does this.
And another coincidence is that Meta has an antitrust lawsuit in front of the government in April. What a complete coincidence that he would be sucking up to conservatives during this time period. This is Lina Khan, actually, this morning asked about it on CNBC.
What do you think, though, of the relationship that we're seeing between big tech and the next administration? What do you make of the meetings and pilgrimages with which we're seeing Mark Zuckerberg go to Mar-a-Lago, or we're seeing a Jeff Bezos or a Tim Cook? I mean, this is a very different kind of relationship than the administration, the Biden administration had, and specifically what you represented to the business community.
So I approached my job with a focus on faithfully enforcing the law and making sure we were doing that across the economy without fear or favor. There has been, as you know, a lot of concern about dominant digital gatekeepers, again, on both sides of the aisle. And even as we've seen the president-elect announce some of his future appointments, he's noted that he's making these appointments with a view that they're going to continue to maintain a tough line against some of these big technology companies.
Do you think they are, given the meetings that we're seeing, given the $1 million donations to the inaugural? I mean, on a very personal basis, there's only 8 business days left in your role. What do you make of that?
Well, look, I can't predict what future people in my position are going to do. It is true that the FTC has been very successful, including in its ongoing litigations against Amazon and Facebook. And so it's only going to be natural that those companies are going to want to come in and see, can they get some type of sweetheart deal, right? Can they get some type of settlement that's cheap, that settles for pennies on the dollar and lets them escape from a liability finding in court?
Do you see that happening? Is that what you think is happening?
I hope it won't, but again, I can't predict that. And we are set to go to trial against Facebook this spring, against Amazon in fall of 2026. Of course, they would want a sweetheart deal, and I hope future enforcers wouldn't give them that.
Okay, I got some very bad news. When she says, I hope, she goes, what she's really saying is they probably will, but I want to put it on record that that this is wrong.
They're screwing my investigation.
And when we talk about the way that these tech billionaires, they're oligarchs. This is like, you want to know what an oligarchy is? We've been saying for years, we're headed towards an oligarchy. This is a genuine oligarchy.
These are the oligarchs in charge of our communications.
This is it right here. We're there. This is a cartoon from Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist Ann Telnace, who was the Washington Post cartoonist until 2 days ago, when Bezos said, we're not going to allow this ad to run, which depicts Bezos and other tech executives, including dead Mickey Mouse, bowing at the altar of Donald Trump and bringing him money as a tribute. I mean, this is where we're at. This is it. You have these people are buying up all of our media, and they are essentially, brainwash is too strong of a word, but they are completely changing the information, the flow of information, and changing what information is. And they're not doing it for the entire country. They may not even be doing it for the majority of the country, but they're doing it for enough people. And just look at the data. There is no doubt the Democrats failed to deliver a message. But it's also quite clear that those people who did not consume political information voted for Trump overwhelmingly because they didn't see a problem or have any insight into what policies he was actually going to pursue or not going to pursue. And we have the biggest online platforms completely reversing themselves a day after Donald Trump is certified as president.
Politico asked that question in a different way, and basically it was also if you consumed mostly your media on social media as well, and it was the same kind of correlation result that you described, Sam.
Don't get confused by the framing of this as woke versus a free speech issue. This is a workplace authoritarian issue. This isn't about a general sort of moderation strategy. This is about Facebook employees. Here's from 4 years ago. Facebook employees have spoken out in anger after CEO Mark Zuckerberg said he planned to take no enforcement action against a post by the President Donald Trump following the killing of George Floyd. The staffers said the post has no place. This is Mark Zuckerberg saying, hey, my woke employees, I'm going to open up a office in Austin now because you are trying to pressure me to do things in my company that I don't want to do. And me and Joe Kaplan, the executives, we decide what speech, not you. You take orders. So anybody who's not emphasizing the labor issue of these free speech issues is, I think, doing a service to the boss.
And be clear, in that same speech that the surfer boy gave, Endless Summer Zuckerberg provided, the other bullet points were that they're going to allow political content again. I mean, think about this. They shut down political content the year before an election.
Odd. And another billionaire purchased the top journalistic social communications company.
But where was the outcry from all the free speech absolutists when they decided political speech is no longer allowed on this platform? Yeah. And you didn't hear any because it's somebody's social media platform. There is no free speech issues here.
Yeah.
There are no free speech issues here. They are privately owned. Do I think they should be privately owned? No. I think we should rip these things apart with antitrust. And not necessarily you can't have a big platform, but let's make it completely not profitable in allowing their algorithms and their data scraping and their selling of your data and the cross-platform advertising. There's plenty of ways of doing that. But the bottom line is not a free speech issue. It is about this guy manipulating and being one of a couple, whether it's like, Bezos with, the Post and frankly, what books you can buy on Amazon.
I mean, Rupert Murdoch in the previous generation.
Rupert Murdoch or Elon Musk with Twitter or, what's that? The big owner-operated Sinclair Media or Fox or whatever. This is just another story like that. It's just that this is a little bit more all-encompassing now because social media is far more broadly based. And he's coming out days before the Trump administration. We're going to allow political content again. And not only are we going to allow political content, we're not going to decide when any of it's true.
And especially if you want to do anti-immigrant stuff or anti-trans stuff, we went too far on that stuff specifically. It doesn't mention any like Palestine protests or stuff like that. We'll see any double standards.
And he did. He mentioned terrorism. He did. He mentioned terrorism. Yep. That's the other thing. When he says drugs, terrorism, childhood exploitation, what he means is the immigration. That's fentanyl coming over the border, even though a majority comes through ports of entry. QAnon, childhood exploitation stuff, and anti-trans stuff will be a part of that. And terrorism means protests against the genocide in Gaza.
Yep. And this is what you're looking at. People should just be aware of what's going on with this.
And now we got to get back on Facebook.
Yep. If you have a Facebook account, start sending our stuff around. If you have an Instagram account, start sending our stuff around. I think it's, Majority FM? I haven't paid much attention to it. But start sending our stuff around because we're back at war on that platform. Because they're going to spread, it is open season. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll talk about this new report about what the percentage of of adolescents 8 to 17 who receive any type of gender affirming care, medical care. So tiny, it's going to blow your minds because we have been told this is rampant. It's a social contagion. It's so easy to walk in there and get this kind of treatment. Twisted ass people.
It's like Minions.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.